when I read the story about the mother who had apparently murdered her daughter by setting her on fire, when I read the headline, I had thought, well, it's murder too. And then I thought about postpartum psychosis, which I read about before. I read about postpartum depression, and the mother of my mother's maternal grandmother had postpartum depression, and granted that she never, for lack of a better term, set her children on fire or anything. However, she could never get out of bed, despite that she had all these children to take care of. And my mom's maternal grandmother, from the time that she was 5 years old, had to take care of, trying to remember here, she had to take care of 9 other siblings, because 2 had died before she was born, so there were 12 kids total. However, she was the oldest surviving child, so from the time that she was 5 years old, she had to take care of all of her siblings, and I'm guessing that was part of the reason she never even got past middle school. And also, she became very, for lack of a better term, bitter and angry because she was in that position. Meanwhile, by the way, this is in the 1900s, so my great-great-grandmother pretty much did not have a choice as to whether she had more kids, and my great-great-granddad could apparently be very difficult, and my great-great-grandmother, my great-grandmother stepped up to take care of him, despite that he had been so cruel to her, and despite that he had been so cruel to his wife. And so I thought that the woman who apparently murdered her child had murdered her first when I saw the headline and when I read the article as well. But then I thought, okay, there is something called postpartum psychosis and postpartum depression, let alone postpartum psychosis can affect women to do awful things to their children. And I hope that if this woman, who was 22 years old, and I'm guessing that she was single because no husband was mentioned, and it doesn't even sound like parents were mentioned, so she wasn't living with her parents, it sounds like, so there was no one who could help her out. And she fled the scene as well after she had set her kid on fire, so perhaps she felt guilty about what she did, and she couldn't turn herself in. If the situation was indeed murder, then she should get the death penalty. However, if the situation was that she had postpartum psychosis and she had a psychotic episode due to her postpartum depression, she should be confined to a mental institution for the rest of her life, because she is clearly a danger to herself and others at this point. By the way, I should add, too, that my great-great-grandmother eventually died of Alzheimer's, which was affected by the postpartum depression, and my great-grandmother died of Alzheimer's as well, although she never got postpartum depression, and Alzheimer's can be affected by depression. And even though my great-grandmother never got postpartum depression, as far as I know, her youngest sibling did get postpartum depression. And the stories that you hear with these women who have postpartum depression, I mean, if you read them, they're just awful, and, they're tempted to do things to their kids that they normally wouldn't want to do. And I can also post the statistics on postpartum depression in terms of who it particularly affects. By the way, this woman was African American, so I will post statistics including that. And I encourage people to look at the statistics, like, does postpartum depression affect whites more? Does it affect blacks more? Does it affect Asians, Hispanics, Jews, whoever else? And so I really encourage people to look at the statistics as well and not be quick to judge, because even though this woman was charged with murder, she might legitimately be able to plead guilty by reason of insanity and then hopefully be in a mental institution for at least a good long time, if not for the rest of her life, and hopefully she will indeed get the help that she needs. And I think the part of what's going on too is that mental illness is still not understood, and I think that's why people are saying, oh, she's a murderer, she's this and this, and even if she does have postpartum, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, she shouldn't have done that, and this and this and this. Well, I sorrow that people do not understand mental illness, and quite honestly, that's part of why society is going down the drain.